and good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. We've got Challengers League Week 5, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to game on, baby. My name is Mark Rafa Alexander Aramide. I am joining the Challengers League broadcast once again. It doesn't happen very often, but I'm always blessed to get a chance to share the stage with my boys Destrux and Joshi, one of which had his LCS debut this past Wednesday.
Woo!
Let's go!
Let's go! Yeah. Oh man, how, Mark? How did you get through the nerves? That was the most painful part, just waiting for those games to conclude so I can get up on that stage. You know what? It was a fantastic experience, but now we got the NACL to get to.
Yes, sir.
I'm honestly impressed at how much energy you still have, Mark. I wonder if it's delirium, because I know how late you were up last night.
You know what? We shared some stories, and you know what? That's what keeps the blood pumping. But for us, what also keeps the blood pumping is seeing a very handsome man who is also and Josh's roommate, Cubby, with our latest NA Talent update.
Hello and welcome to week 4 of the NA Talent Update. I know that those OQs have been cooking, so we're going to have Smacks, who is joining us on the broadcast this week, walk us through where those OQs are at and some things to look out for.
Welcome to Salt Watch. Today we're counting down the top 5 funniest moments from the NACL qualifiers so far. At number 5, Shocky breaks the laws of physics on Cassante.
Talking over the speaker.
We are close.
What
Get
was
out.
that?
That was a Cassante.
Pluto can't catch a break from the crowd control, finding himself in a bit of a bind in moment number 4.
Or yoink the super fed ADC.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Oh.
Whoa, Pluto! Whoa!
Number 3 springs onto the list, just like Dunks and his jungle pet, playing leapfrog in the Baron pit.
Oh, shout out Danny for possibly one of the cleanest shuffles. Unfortunately,
Oh, wait, the jungle pet.
no
fly
way.
around.
Rafa,
Look at the jungle
Rafa,
pet.
it's going in between Gromp.
Staying in the Baron pit for number 2, RBM completes an objective robbery and makes his creative escape.
Chrono, flash over, Giga Chad. You have
Get in there, RBM! RBM!
Oh, RBM, he's crazy.
Oh wait, Chrono's in trouble, actually. Okay.
Oh,
And coming in at number 1, Crimson shows just how angry the Viking in the top lane can get.
I feel bad that this is the second time in a row where...
God, the misfortune does no damage.
Wow.
Oh,
Wait, hold on.
my
Hold on a
God,
second.
that's so sad.
Wait, oh, flash. Oh my god.
No way.
You're
That's...
Thanks for watching. Tune in next time for more top 5 moments on Salt Watch.
Sometimes in the Rift, things happen that are squeaky clean. Unfortunately, budget is a little bit tough around here, but fortunately for us, we have Mr. Cleanse to walk us through everything that happened that was squeaky clean this week in NACL.
My god, it's filthy in here. Oh, how's it going, gamers? Didn't see you there. I'm Mr. Cleanse. Do you struggle to keep your gameplay clean? Or how about let's take a look at some NACL players from this weekend to see how they keep their gameplay nice and tidy. Now here, Wildcard are looking to clean up this Baron. Personally, I don't like this objective. It's a little too slimy for me. Now FlyFam, they sniffed this out. They've played a polished game so far, so they're gonna try and wipe Wildcard off the objective. But Moose Hater, he brought the perfect tools to scrub up all of FlyFam.
In the pit, there Blaze gets a lot of damage. Moose Hater find all this space! Moose Hater!
Now that's what I call clean.
Run from it, hide from it, Unforgiven's gonna find you. We don't really know why he's in this league, but while he is, he's our raw pog moment of the week.
But he's not doing any damage right now. Meanwhile, Sniper actually went a little more forward. CLG Faith trading mid laner for top laner. But Johnny has to flash at the end of the fight as Unforgiven pretty much untouched. Both summoners available. Destiny behind him flashes in for the double kill. Unforgiven showing what you can do on the Zeri, even in the early game, over the wall for the triple! Looking at NXI and Sketch, the penta angle's there, he can chase it down! Zeri Murado's Unforgiven! The man, the machine with the quadra kill! Sketch to safety, but you got nowhere to run! Penta kill!
Woo! Poggers. That's it for the Week 4 NA Talent Update. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Until then, may your week be filled with positive gaming experiences.
Always got to get that little poggers.
Sorry, I'm still mesmerized by the hips of Genghis.
Mr.
Cleanse.
Cleanse.
Whoa.
Mr. Cleanse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was my first time seeing that. I'm glad I waited.
I'm glad we only saw it once too. But you know, don't worry. It's not the only exciting thing wrapping up our week 5, getting ready for the start of a week anew, because we still got. That's right. Give it to me. A
super heavyweight SmackDown.
Ah!
Hoonin' time! Moose Hater! Super Heavyweight SmackDown! This week, 2 top laners who like to go their own way. In the red corner, he's back in black and yellow because he's the top laner for first place Dignitas. In his lane, the cream of the crop is top in farm. In second place in solo kills. You may want to rock and roll all night, but right now, it's Hoonin' time! In the blue corner, on the best provisional team topping the damage charts in his lane. He'll rock you like a hurricane and spin faster than an F5. And when the levee breaks, the moose will scatter. It's Moose Hater! Join us for a top lane showdown for the ages as styles clash and guitars slash at this week's Super Heavyweight SmackDown!
Dude, the best part is that we have a back shot of Moose Hater just like throwing that in as well.
I don't know how we got that, but the fact that Moose Hater willingly gave us that is
the way you say that makes it sound like you were taking.
Genghis told me that last little bit was supposed to be Moose Hater spinning. That's why we kept getting the back in front and back in front.
That works. Yeah.
It's kind of the game.
You know, getting some, just, you got to make sure you get the full 360 view. But, you know, we've had some fun videos regarding, you know, some of the biggest plays and our upcoming big matches. But one thing that we also want to take a look at is specifically AoE Gold and from the eye points of Winnie on team structure.
I mean, in terms of coaching stuff, we have different level of coaches, whereas we have like a head coach and assistant coach who are very hands-on, whether it's in the office over Discord. They're the ones kind of running the reviews. There's also specific positional coaches, so they'll work with, like, for example, we have a mid and bottom lane positional coaches, as well as an analyst, which helps helps me. And then I also talk specifically a lot with Shia, just what we think about draft, going to what strategies we want to implement into specific teams. And then in terms of kind of the major voice, I've kind of taken that responsibility, especially as the jungler position. I think it's really important to be very vocal, have clear plans, and make sure that everyone's on the same page both pre-game and during the game.
Our head coach is Griffin, ex-Wiggly. And I've known him for a while, and I'm really happy with our coaching staff. He's like the main coach, and then we've got Solpan, manager, Taco, like other manager, and then Ham as our analyst. Griffin's like the main coach, like for reviews and stuff.
Yeah. We got our head coach. I know there's some drama around there, but we got Kiao. He's a pretty good coach, really solid. Mid lane positional coach Leo, formerly EGP Leo 99. We got our analysts Xavier and James and Caleb. They do some really nice scouting work. We had some nice level 1 plans thanks to them, and we know where everyone wards and all that good stuff. Team captain, I mean, we don't really have a team captain, but there's been a running gag I've been pulling where I'm the alpha, I'm the sigma male, kind of leading. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm him leading everyone, but they like to push back against that and say I'm the beta.
Our head coach is Brandini, and we all. Loyola, which is the head of scouting for Fly.
Okay.
And he jumps in there like here and there, gives us advices. But I would probably just talk about Brandini the most because even though it's practice, right, and scrims, he tried to make it a fun like atmosphere, so everyone's not as stressed. I respect for him, and I think he's a good coach. We haven't assigned a team captain, but if I would say, I would say me, because usually I guess I have played in LCS and Academy before, and I have more experience than other players in my team, so I would assign myself as that if I have to give someone a role.
As you can see, this week being a short week, we wanted to take some time to get a little bit behind the scenes and understanding the players, what they're doing off the Rift, as much as we're getting hyped up about seeing what they can do on the Rift, both last week and with the hype around some of our incredible matches coming this week. But before we get further into that conversation, we gotta review and see where all the teams are standing up right now. And of course, one of the teams that we'll be seeing later today is a battle for that top spot. Dignitas Challengers taking on Wildcard in our second series of the day. I know both of you two have been really hyped up about that one. I think even Desrux just wants to see more Moose Hater action on the Rift.
I love seeing Moose Hater. I'm pretty hyped up on Wildcard and how well they've been doing. But what I'm looking at is just going to be how are these final weeks going to go through, right? Let's see the strength of schedules for every squad. I think FlyFam and EGC probably have some of the better end of season schedules. I want to see who's going to take that very, very top point, though, because I was looking at C9C. They got 4 different provisional teams they have at the end of this season, so I'm putting some money on them.
Yeah, we've also very clearly separated into a couple of blocks, right? You have like Dig Through 100 Challengers where, you have the 2-game separation, then you have a bunch of teams kind of within 1 game of each other, and then of course you have most of the provisional teams down on the bottom side. And so, I mean, it is going to be shaking out. Remember, you cannot get relegated off of your regular season placements. It's all going to be about how playoffs go.
Yep.
With that in mind, we got 2 provisional teams coming in today, and this can have a big impact on their potential future.
Yeah, one of them is going to be in our first match of the day, Cincinnati Fear. This was a team that had a hot streak, but as we started discussing on the broadcast, maybe that was because of the strength of schedule, the teams that they were up against, because as of last week, they went 0-4 here, Josh. And I know you have been very much on we can't hype up this team too much. We got to see what they're really about when they're going up against the top teams in the league.
Yeah, we have to remember that Cincinnati Fear, they have 3 of the teams that are in the top 4 currently left in their schedule, right? And then we also have FlyQuest Challengers, CLG Challengers, and then Team Liquid First is kind of like their one easy matchup. I made the prediction for you earlier, Districts, and I'm expecting Cincinnati Fear to go something like 4-8 for the rest of the split, which is going to put them at 500, right? That'll put them in an even record overall, and I think that's probably a lot closer to where I was expecting them to end up. They were looking very, very good, but getting a couple of extra wins here over FlyQuest Challengers today will go a long way towards actually cementing them towards the top side of the standings.
For FlyQuest Challengers, Desrex, I got you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll tee it up over to you, because one of the big matchups that we were really looking at for both of these teams coming in today, even though Cincinnati Fear very, very reverent in the top side of the map, FlyQuest Challengers has a big strength point, and that is that bottom lane in Masu.
Yeah, so this is something I was about to point out right now. Even though Fear are coming off a 0-4 week, so are FlyQuest. They had some problems they had to get through last week, and a lot of that was because teams started figuring out that Masu is a point that you need to attack. Evil Geniuses figured that out. They started syncing up their mid jungle, and then they focused down into that bottom lane. Same thing with Dignitas. They got their side lane going with Hoon, and then they focused down into that bottom lane. Masu is such a threat. He's been a pop-off player, but now FlyQuest are going to be put into a situation where it's like, we can't exclusively rely on Masu. He's a great power point for us, but we got to figure out other ways to take control of these games.
It's also worth noting that today Masu is going to be playing on that giant ping, right? We are playing off of the LA server today, which means that, Fear, who are located relatively close to LA, will be playing quite well, and everybody else on FlyQuest Challengers loves playing on that low ping, but Masu is going to be the one person who's going to be suffering. That said, I actually think that this is one of the better matchups for Masu going into the bottom lane of Manui and Trevor, who have really kind of sidelined themselves, not because I think they're weak, but mostly just because this has been a team that's been very focused on the top side of the map so far in the season, and Masu is the kind of player who loves playing aggressively into these kind of bottom lanes.
And Masu has been a pleasant surprise, beyond a pleasant surprise, ever since coming from his days in amateur on the team TBA. And we were all kind of questioning, was this, prospect coming into his first split of Challengers really merit his worth? And he's been doing a pretty damn good job already. A lot of the times, FlyQuest Challengers games have been salvaged off of his play alone.
Their coach Soul Strikes even said something to the effect of kind of like, oh, I told you so, my AD is going to be super sick this year, and so far, Masu's definitely been living up to the hype. So hopefully, they will have an opportunity to showcase what they can do there, because FlyQuest Challengers as a whole, while we know that all of their players are individually talented enough to, play towards the top of the table, they've kind of looked a little bit lost, and that's something that Cincinnati Fear has really been benefiting from, is because they have had such a strong identity, basically coming right out the gate.
Well, you won't have to wait any much longer because we should be getting into draft in just a few moments, gentlemen. So I'm going to toss it all over to y'all. Have a great cast and kick some ass.
Bye, Mark.
All right. Thank you, Rafa. And let's get into this first game again. Josh, we just started and you're already derailing me.
You started before we even started the show. Do not put this on me today.
I get myself under control before the camera goes live, Josh. Thank you very much. Coming into this game, again, I want to reiterate this. Both teams are currently on a 4-game losing streak, so we're looking for something big. We're looking for some adaptations. We're past the halfway point in the season, so we need to see big improvements to get that playoff seed.
I have to say, I am very surprised by the bans currently coming out from the side of Fear, right? They banned Olaf, right? Faisal has been one of the players who has been picking Olaf B1 as the first pick in the draft overall, and it's just been really good, right? They've been able to take down a lot of teams. They played up against, I believe it was Wildcard that they played it. It was against Gamsu, at the very least.
I've
They're
seen
not
it
Wildcard.
I've seen it a few times from Faisal.
That's what it was. Yeah. I mean, he played up against AoE and they B1'd it. So the fact that they are banning it themselves here is very surprising. And so Cincinnati Fear so far, as they've kind of built themselves up as a team that really plays towards the top half, really plays through Faisal and Shochi in particular. And they've been one of the few teams that have been playing Seraphine in what most people have been saying is an 80 carry meta. It's really going to be a situation where Manui and Trevor, as we said before, they've been sidelining themselves in order to make sure that their top side gets as much resources as they need.
Yeah. It's been an interesting take coming out of Fear because I've been seeing a lot of similar things from Team Liquid First, who are doing this. Our bot lane is in service towards the top side of the map. We're going to try and enable plays that way and get them going. I think Faisal's a great player to play from, has shown plenty of moments of very high intensive skilled play, as we are going to get quite a bit of a check coming out from Faisal. He's going to be playing the Chase over on the top side, can flex to the mid lane if Shochi wants it.
It's very interesting that you said that, because my first expectation that is going to be intended for Shochi, and then they can potentially flex it towards the top side, right? I mean, Faisal is definitely a guy who tends to play a lot more of these like melee bruisers, which is not something you tend to see as often. But as we start looking towards the rest of the draft, hey, FlyQuest are going to be pulling something out of the Fear playbook. Remember, it was Manui. I believe he's the only Seraphine player so far this split coming out in the North American Challengers League, and now it's going to be picked up by FlyQuest. I'm expecting Keaton to play this, and Masu's going to play something a little bit more aggressive, but it does kind of shift the way that FlyQuest Challengers are going to be playing from really trying to dominate the early game through the bottom lane to allowing them to pick more strong champions early in the top side of the map, and then just make them super powerful with the Seraphine later.
And it gives them some pretty good mid-game presence when they want to start taking these team fights a little bit later. It was something they were lacking against Evil Geniuses. Ryoma and Shaden were able to take big advantage of that during a dragon fight, so FlyQuest going to have a lot of presence there. And they're facing off against Fear, who have brought both a lot of pick and a lot of poke into this matchup.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that we've seen have a lot of success. I believe it was Wixie and friends, right, who actually brought it out, where they were bringing a ton of poke tools, right? They had like the Lux, the Jhin, the Jace, and so you just hit one person, you just kill them outright. And it doesn't matter at that point if you have the Seraphine to heal them up, because they're already dead. And so that's a huge opportunity for Fear to actually try and create situations where they just have extra players on the map. Our draft has disappeared. We will be updating that as it comes back for us, but it is definitely a situation where it's a very different style coming out from FlyQuest Challengers than I think we were really expecting. They've been playing a lot of things like the Lucian Nami historically. They're not afraid of playing the Zeri Lulu as well, and so this early Tristana is probably going to be going towards Spyrex, which is a bit of a different look from him as well.
All right. We're getting the old layout back. Had a little hiccup there. No worries. We're back on track right now. As the bans do come in, okay, we're almost back on track. Don't you worry. We're getting it through right now. We're getting it through. As these next picks do come in, FlyQuest Challengers have focused very much.
This makes way more sense. This makes way more sense. We had our teams flipped before. We had our teams flipped before. It's Minui is going to be playing the Seraphine. Shochi is going to be picking up the Tristana. Spyrex on the Jace.
Right.
This makes way more sense than what we were looking at. I was just like, it feels like they're drafting for each other, but
yeah.
Okay. We're back on track. It is, in fact, Fear who is banning away the Olaf. Did not want to play against Faisal's rendition of that. And so this is, as we still wait for everything to get onto the right sides, much closer, right? Philip is known as a Jace player historically. Spyrex has played it a couple of times so far this season. And now it's going to be not Fear, but FlyQuest. We have all the big poke tools to potentially lock down the members of FlyQuest Challenge. Excuse me, Cincinnati Fear.
Don't worry, we will get that fixed up. Some pretty big engage coming out with that Alistair lock-in. I'm curious what we're going to see from the full picture of FlyQuest now that we have that set forward. Or FlyQuest. Oh, I'm going to be mixing this up all the time now.
There we go. It's fixed.
Okay, we're fixed. You're good. I don't got to worry anymore. For FlyQuest, they're playing a lot more to that poke and pick that we were talking about earlier. Gonna finally finish it off with the Sylas, and look at how many juicy ultimates you can take away. Even the Alistair ultimate is great to keep that Sylas in the middle of this fight. Final pick coming in for Cincinnati Fear, just hovering the Renekton for now.
Yeah. I remember one of our other support players have said that they love playing Alistar into the Sylas because even though the Alistar ultimate is really, really good for Sylas, as the Alistar, you just knock him away and it's like, okay, well, you've used all your gap closers. Have fun like being invincible over there. So, as we see this come through, it is a lot of early game execution from both sides on this map, right? You're going to be looking at how Spyrex and Philip can really play with this Elise, look for a couple of dives. Whereas on the other side of the map, the one worry that I have a little bit coming out from Cincinnati Fear is that their primary engage is pretty weak, right? You're mostly going to be looking at Trevor looking for these big flanks, and then Minui also using that orbital cannon through all the members of his own team in order to try and catch out the members of FlyQuest. But that is very reactable. Whereas if you look on the other side, you have Cocoon, you have the ultimate coming out from Keaton, you have Masu's Chain of Corruption. All of these are so easy to hit single targets, and so it's going to be really reliant on making sure that Minui is strong enough, or Faisal Perry are strong enough to not die to the initial burst coming out from FlyQuest.
I mean, and there's plenty of other worries coming out for Cincinnati Fear's composition. Say if Shochi doesn't get ahead, say if that lane gets absolutely shut down, which can become a reality given Yuji's on this Elise right now, Spyrax on that Sylas. Now, if you can't focus over there and get Shochi out of the picture, you've effectively lost a lot of your damage for these team fights, a lot of the damage that you're looking to bring here. Go ahead and let us know in Twitch chat who you're rooting for. Type in Fear or FlyC. See, there's a lot of Cincinnati Fear fans. Well, big test right now against FlyQuest.
Yeah, it's also been fascinating to me that people have been playing the Sylas into the Tristana because it is a terrible, terrible matchup. Oh,
Hook coming in. Keaton going straight for the flash, but Perry, I don't think he can escape this, or can he? Will clone right out with 100 health remaining. Is able to survive. Very aggressive early play from FlyQuest and Keaton.
Yeah, just going right in for that. They end up getting Perry's flash and force him to start with the decoy. So that's really going to slow down a lot of his early game pathing.
Yeah.
He should be able to get back into the map relatively early on, but that is a pretty big invade coming out from the side of FlyQuest. And they also get, you know, a little bit more vision on the other side of the map. And so this will really help out UG, Philip, and Spyrex, considering how aggressively we're expecting them to try and play that first stages of the game.
Now, Josh, can you talk to me about this bottom lane? Should I be worried that Seraphine is now making a comeback once again? I know we're going into a different patch, but I'm just looking at Fear's bottom lane, and I get a little bit scared.
I am one of the biggest Seraphine apologists you will ever meet.
No.
And like, I am convinced, to follow that up, I am convinced there is nothing that Riot can do to make professionals play this character. This character was broken all of 2022, and nobody ever played it except for CLG. It is not as good now as it was before, and so therefore, pros aren't going to play it.
You know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. It's better than Yuumi. As Hook comes in from Keaton. This is what we're going to be expecting for a bit. Masu and Keaton to be trying to play a little bit more aggressive into this bottom lane. It's where FlyQuest have picked up a lot of their early leads just through outright bot lane domination.
Yeah, they really have. The way that Masu and Keaton play really aggressively. I mean, we talked about it before. It is way easier to play aggressive on high ping.
There we go again.
Yeah.
Another engage onto Trevor. I mean, you're melee support, and that's going to be painful right there, especially at level 1. Manage does go over to Keaton, and Masu can poke
doesn't
away.
do anything, right? You know, it's just like all of those old videos.
Little hoverboard.
Yeah, she's just kind of hanging out. She doesn't do any damage early on. And so it is definitely going to be a position where you are going to be looking for these aggressive moves. But also look at Yuji. He's skipping all of his topside kills.
Skipping them to go straight over to set up a dive onto Faisal. Not too far off is going to be Perry. Was pathing into this direction.
Ooh.
Now sees Yuji. Can try and help out Faisal, who's been caught out by the cocoon. Sinking the fangs in. Yuji will grab first blood.
Oh, man. I mean, there's a good thing there's a cannon there. Otherwise, that would be a massive, massive loss coming out for Faisal. They will be able to teleport and get most of that EXP, but giving over that first blood to Elise is fantastic for the way that FlyQuest are looking to play this out. And Perry, I mean, he got spotted over by the Raptors. Yuji knew he had about 5 seconds to try and make this play, and makes it happen.
And Yuji, at least from last week, has been very, very active on the map in a lot of these early games. Seeing him on the Elise only plays that a little bit more, and trying to get Philip ahead to stop that early momentum that Faisal has been, known for in doing a lot of these 1v1 checks. Already a good start for FlyQuest.
Yeah. One of the big reasons why this matchup, like the Renekton versus Jace, can be super swingy is it's all about the wiggle, right? And, these small movements that you do back and forth as a melee versus range champion. Here comes Keetong into the mid lane.
This is the root, but not going to miss the hook. Keetong lands it onto Shochi, taking away a chunk of health. More fights going over on the top side, goes neutral.
Yeah. And it's mostly just trying to make sure that Philip doesn't get counter-dubbed, doesn't get pushed underneath his own turret, and can maintain that freeze up in the top side. And I'm expecting Yuji does blue buff, does wolves. At some point in all of that, will probably make another visit top lane, especially if they can clear out some of these wards. But at the same time, I'm loving this proactivity coming out from FlyQuest. One of the things that we were saying is that they tend to be really lost later on in the game, and so finding a big enough lead in the first couple of minutes can really help out.
Keetong just keeps landing these hooks, man, in fear. Their bottom lane has to respect them. If Masu gets a first blood off of this, if they start burning summoner spells off of this, you know that the attack will be focused on the bot side.
So far, I mean, Shochi's also been doing a good job. This is one of the reasons why I was a little bit surprised to see the number of Silas games into this Tristana is because, even APA, who's like not a bad laner, who's going into Jimenez. Jimenez played the Silence and kind of got clapped, right? It is a super, super tough lane for even some of our best laners, but at the same time, both junglers hovering towards the bot side a little bit more, switching up the play. But both of them as they will be backing out. One of the big things that I will be tracking quite a bit this game is how the different teams are going to be spiking at different points. You notice that both Philip and Masu are going to be going for this more poke-oriented build. And Spyrex is already committed to what some people have said the vegetarian build coming out on the Silas, right? He's going to be spiking later, but he's going to be tankier for his team.
It will spike a little bit later. He will be tankier, and you will need that to provide some frontline for the mid game as well as the fight to stay in a lot of these conflicts that are going to happen, especially around the Drake. Yuji's been very, very active on the map, has been doing a good job of spotting where Perry's been going, and now looking to transfer that activity over to the bottom lane. A hook comes out from Keetong, chip of damage onto Trevor. They want to crash this wave. They want to crash it fast because it's dive time. Cocoon lands onto the cow. Trevor takes a chunk of damage coming through, and Masu will receive a kill.
And there you go. It's just that easy, man. You have an Elise come through, you get a stun, you blow up one target, you repel, and it's like, yeah, you're all good. Trevor never even flashes that entire time. And Yuji, I mean, he was claiming that he's been more active in terms of communicating early on in the game than he has been in previous years. This is the kind of thing where normally they wouldn't be able to do it without Tomo and Diamond, but this is growth coming up from the FlyQuest squad.
Great play, gives them another kill into this early game. First 6 minutes, now Spyrax looking for one on the Shochi. Has the Buster Shot, which is something I don't say too often about Silas, but Buster Shot does bring a lot of damage, is a little bit deceptive on the burst.
It also has a great AP ratio, builds AP. Silence, it's not Tristana, despite what Magical will tell you.
I still remember those old days when it used to be on the rocket jump and you would just get the jump resets, one to the other, to the other, to the other.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember when Tristana's E used to just be a point-and-click damage over time?
And it would burn the living daylights out of them on the AP ratio. Yeah,
it had a 1.0 AP ratio. I'm glad we're not in those days, but at the same time, we do kind of want to keep track of how well Minui is farming, because this is a champion that really comes into its own at about 2 items and is one of the strongest characters in the game from about 2 items to about 3 items, right? That is when you are around level 9 to 13, and you start having to put points into your E, and you're kind of like, at that point, like, This is not the button that does the most damage. It kind of falls off a little bit. But look at this in the mid lane. Instead, UG is not interested in returning to the bottom lane, and Trevor is trying to block out the mid lane gang.
The control ward was placed in the mid lane, and the sweeper now coming out for UG. Was spotted out earlier by that ward in the river. Shochi will now place another one back into there. Kitong called up on the roam. Might be looking for a play in the mid lane. Buster Shot going to come out from Spyrax, but battle lines are drawn, and both teams looking for a 3v3 mid. Instead, transferring that will be Fear. Might be looking for something in the top end.
Minui's probably dead here in a second, right? It's going to be a Rift Herald for a dive on the other side of the map. Minui is very smartly backing away, and so it will be a Rift Herald for a couple of plates, a bunch of denied CS, and FlyQuest will probably shift over and pick up the Dragon at the same time. So I love the fact that Fear is trying to do something early on in this game, but is also being matched by FlyQuest. Like, this is one of the best early games I think I've seen from them this entire split.
And it's a big argument right now as to who really does win out a little bit more, because keep in mind, FlyQuest are playing to their strengths, which is Masu. Masu's getting plates, a lot of solo farm, a lot of free time, has a strong lead against Minui. Perry has to get some good ground with his Rift Herald.
Yeah. And so far, I mean, Perry, even having lost a Flash relatively early on, the early play coming out from UJ has been super good. Now they're trying to dive. This should be easy.
Focusing on Phil. Phil flashes away, gets caught by the Cyclone, teeing up, but it's not enough to stop the damage of Cincinnati Fear in the top lane.
Yeah, good try from Philip, but it is going to be a good dive coming out from Perry. Flash for Flash up on the top side. I'm a little bit surprised that the Monkey doesn't instantly drop the Rift Herald, and now it's Faisal who needs to be careful.
The Croc gonna have a run, doesn't have Flash. Kitong, questionable if he wants to go for it. It's enough to get out the teleport, still gonna be a win for FlyQuest.
That's very funny. That's one of those moments that we know he was never in any real danger there, but he had no idea, right? He has no idea if they continued pushing up the lane to try and take him down. So that's one of those things where, like, if he had better vision in the lane, if he had a wave, he might have been able to hang on to the teleport, but he has to use it in order to keep himself alive, and they've really equalized a lot of the gold. Remember, there's 2 plates that went down on top of the kill. That's effectively 2 kills that are getting picked up for Faisal and Perry, and that's so much extra money.
Plate picked up for Philip onto this top side as Perry starts to prey onto Philip. Philip is going to look to place a ward. Perry should catch him out
downfall.
right here. Philip, wrong place to be. Does have UG in the back pocket. Starts to turn it around. Straight at Dirk. Caulfield's Warhammer does bring a decent amount of damage for Philip. So now the turnaround coming out for FlyQuest onto Perry and Faisal. They'll just say, no way, not looking for this fight. Don't feel good and confident about taking it.
Yeah, as we kind of look at this, one of the things that we've kind of known Faisal for is his ability to 1v2, his ability to kind of dominate side lanes later in the game because of how strong he often gets. You know, he's not weak, but he's not strong right now. He's Kitan looking for another fight.
Oh, that Chain of Corruption's coming out. They're looking for more than just a fight. They want to cash in, and they're bringing the damage onto Trevor. Forced to flash away. Trevor burns his flash, and Fancy Feet coming out for the bot lane of FlyQuest as they get the better of Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah, that just small sidestep from Masu, not using the flash, not using the cleanse, just recognizing that he just needs to move off to one side and gets himself okay. But now UG and Perry are both hanging out in the mid lane. Spikes are like, nah, guys, I just want to pick up all this farm. This Rift Herald shouldn't quite take the entire tower, but it is going to be very painful. It should be 2 plates going over to only Perry.
See right there, they needed to lead it in a little bit more because it could have been blocked off, so being able to guide that Rift Herald cash in. Again, that's only onto Perry. This is not your damage dealer. You want some gold onto Shochi.
I'm a little bit worried for these mid-game fights that are coming up very soon, right? Shochi, unfortunately not able to really get much of an independent lead. I would love if we could get some of the gold popping up here in a moment, just because of the fact that, you know, Shochi, I mean, up about 700 gold, you actually want to be asking for more from the Tristana in this lane, right? It is a situation where you're up 10 CS and you got a bunch of plates, but that should be the expectation. You should also be looking for some of these solo kills, and Spyrax, to his credit, has done a fantastic job at nullifying a lot of the laning power coming out for Tristana. So Shochi is not going to be relevant again until they have their Infinity Edge.
Shochi needs a pretty strong gold lead because elsewhere on the map, FlyQuest are amassing quite a bit. I mean, you saw bottom lane Masu holds a pretty strong lead. I think it was like 1K over Minui so far, and how much FlyQuest have been pressuring spot lane. But Spyrax in the mid lane might be looking for something. Headbutt Pulverize comes out from Trevor. Stun onto Spyrax, but ooh, a lot of hesitation from Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah, a very tempered response coming out from Fear after Spyrax goes in. I feel like Spyrax probably ought to have lost the flash there, but it is still worth noting that FlyQuest have done a really good job equalizing some of the early plays that FlyQuest were able to put out, right? Philip has not been able to really exert a whole lot of control ever since his early death, and so Faisal is strong again, but now Yuji's looking for the monkey.
Oh, collapsing in. Here comes the pinch. Parry takes an exit. Blue buff going to be at risk, gets stolen away. Spider will take it and take a blast plant. Express delivery right on out as FlyQuest, it just seems like they're assuming control of the entire game very slowly.
Yeah. And this is one of the places where FlyQuest challengers have been getting a little bit lost so far throughout this split, as Faisal going to be zoning Philip off a couple more waves, and they find a hook.
Oh, nice comboed with the Chain of Corruption. Cleanse away that crowd control and put away Minui. Philip flashes. Faisal with the dive. Not be able to complete it. Now in the mid lane, Cincinnati Fear looking for more. Spyrax will bring it right over to them. Yuji not too far off. Has the cocoon, lands it on the parry. Still in the top lane. There's chaos all over the map right now, Josh. Philip will get taken down by Faisal in the 1v1 as both teams set their sights over towards the Drake.
And that's the Faisal we were expecting a little bit more of, right? Just being able to win so many of these side lane interactions, finds a solo kill onto Philip, and now FlyQuest is going to be Yuji and Kitog trying to find their way in to actually try and steal this. Remember, Shochi doesn't do a whole lot of damage right now.
Nice hook. Gets the flash out of Shochi, but here comes the follow-up by Cyclone. Going to be found. Quitong trying to stay alive. Running low. Still bringing the crowd control. Parry has to back off. Here comes Minui. All the supporting brought by the Seraphine. Is it enough to turn this around? So far, it's looking like a big yes for Cincinnati Fear as the resets are found by Shochi.
There you go, coming through. So much of no damage being done coming out from the FlyQuest members, right? This is the vegetarian build from Spyrax. Yuji was a little bit ahead, but it's no damage coming out from Spyrax, no damage coming out from Kitong. You're not able to take down Trevor. You're not able to stay on top of Shochi. Fear just absolutely crushed that fight. Now they're going to be rewarding themselves with a dragon.
And it's the same slip-up that we saw before coming out from FlyQuest. They had that same mistake around Evil Geniuses. It's all around Dragon. The setup wasn't entirely there, and Shochi, I mean, getting away by the skin of his teeth, the support to come out from Cincinnati Fear, it worked beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, the flash over the wall, keeping Shochi completely safe, and then he just gets to sit here and hit, right? And you see that Spyrax taking no damage whatsoever as long as he has the Alistar out, but suddenly, when it starts to run out, when Kitong takes too much damage, Shochi gets the opportunity to start resetting over and over again, and there's not a whole lot left for FlyQuest to do. They're not playing to this composition strengths at this point, and despite some of their good early game, this is kind of what we were a little bit worried about. You guys do not win that. You get 1v2, I'm telling you.
The hiccups now coming out, but good point here is Masu did not go down during that last fight and is still farming up, still doing well. So FlyQuest are not down and out just yet. It's one fight forfeited, but it's not the game.
Yeah, but there's also 2 turrets got picked up by Fear previously. The one in the mid lane, the one in the top lane. And remember, one of the big things about Tristana is the fact that you just do a ton of damage to structures, right? Tristana zigs. There's something about Yordles and just absolutely destroying everything that we know and love. And so far, I mean, I was saying that Shochi was not going to be relevant until they got the Infinity Edge. I was not counting on the fact that FlyQuest was just going to give him a ton of gold. He gets the top lane, he gets a ton of the second top lane turret. Suddenly, Shochi, while not on the Infinity Edge just quite yet, is doing a ton more damage than they're supposed to right now.
And this is what you need from Shochi. Fear have drafted to support the top side of the map. Shochi needs income. Shochi is going to be that big damage dealer, and Shochi has finally found that money. We'll see what this next cash-in is going to be. I want to see the recall come down for Shochi. It's only a pickaxe currently in the inventory. We will get a second item. Not going to complete it yet. Just going to get the crit cloak.
Yeah. I mean, we will see what comes... Okay. Man, every time I see the double pickaxe come out, I'm like, what are they building? Oh, right. Death Stance. Right? The way that they changed everything up not that long ago. And it just feels wrong to look at in an inventory, you know? 2 of the same item?
Good day.
A good day. Come on, Riot Games.
Yeah. Haven't you learned from the League of Black Cleavers?
Come on. I want to talk to FLYC specifically about this design change.
Hi, it's me.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for joining. You haven't said any dumb puns so far today, but you still have lots of time.
I'll work on it. We got quite a few games to go through.
Yeah. But we've been looking at this FlyQuest roster, right, or this composition, and now they're really focused on trying to find some of these picks, and that's one of the things that has been interesting, right? You know, I want to give Keetong a lot of praise for coming in and being such a long-term substitute while we wait for Ayla's visa to get resolved. But one of the things that Keetong has been having a little bit of trouble with is being a little bit too aggressive in a lot of the engages that they're going for, right? Not valuing their own life as much as some of our other supports. And it has been putting Keetong in a couple of awkward situations throughout the course of the split thus far. And I feel like it's going to be a bit of an interesting spot for FlyQuest now because their composition doesn't really want to engage. They want to pick off one person and blow them up with a lot of poke.
It's a good thing and a bad thing because Keetong has been that reliable engage for FlyQuest that you know is going to follow through. It's a bad thing in moments like this when you don't necessarily want to be taking these fights at a given time that we have. Cincinnati Fear now going to put the Rift Herald into the bottom lane. They have Shochi not too far off. They want to get this crash going, but the minion wave is there, and so is Spyrax and Yuji, so this stings a bit right there. That's going to be a wasted Rift Herald.
It's a Rafa Rift Herald if I've ever seen one.
A Rafa Rift Herald? You got a story?
Yeah. It's not a story. It just happens so consistently. He'll put down a Rift Herald and be like, oh man, the wave is right here. I'm like, man, I wonder if we could have known that. It's almost like the, I wonder if the minions on both sides of the map act exactly the same way. So if our wave is in one place, theirs might be in the other. That seems like,
gosh.
Yeah, I mean, that just seems like way too complicated for junglers, right? I mean, they're so used on the PvE portion of it that anything in the lane is just like, is beyond them.
Shochi will be the Rift Herald instead then. You got Tristana. That's okay. You're talking about Demolition Duo. Demolition single, I guess. We don't got the Ziggs, but we got the Trist. Good enough.
True. And as we start to look at the map again, remember, with the next dragon coming up, this is one of the big fights, right? We are looking at the fact that Manu is already cleared the first item, is getting close to being done with the second, and that's really when the Seraphine takes off. Shochi isn't quite on 2 items, and so this is going to be one of the, I'd say, last big fights where FlyQuest can play for advantage immediately before kind of devolving to like BG Generate. We're going to pick off one person, see if we can blow them up before the fight actually starts. But look at where Faisal is. He's going to prevent them.
Oh, Trevor, triple knockup followed by the Cyclone parry. Cincinnati Fear are taking the team fight to FlyQuest. Jochi backing off from Spyrax. Spyrax realizing, nope, got to flash over the wall and head for the heels because Cincinnati Fear have bested us.
Oh my gosh, Fear absolutely dominating that fight once again. They're just so much more coordinated. They're so much more willing to take these fights. They don't want to sit there and poke at all. Trevor just flashes in and absolutely knocks up 3 people. Manui with the ultimate afterwards. There's nothing left for FlyQuest to try and play for. They have to use all of their flashes defensively in order just to try and survive that last fight. FlyQuest, they're not in a position where they're winning the sidelines. They're not in a position where they're winning the team fights. And the only thing that they can really do is wait for Spyrax to get 3 items. Wait for Philip to get 3 items so that they can actually start trying to play for something again because they just don't have damage.
They stood right in front of Cincinnati Fear, which to me is a little bit of an insult to Cincinnati Fear. When you have this level of engage, it's Wukong Alistair, man. They're going to jump on you, and they are going to fight right away. Not to mention the follow-up that you have coming out from the damage. You got to give respect to that. You have to set up in a way that doesn't play towards their advantages. You know, FlyQuest did have control over that river. You could have played to let Cincinnati Fear play into you and try and utilize that poke, but standing as a full 5 in front of Cincinnati Fear, that is not the fight you need to take.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like a JoJo copy pasta, you know? It's like, oh, you're approaching me instead of running away. Yeah, how else can I beat the crap out of you? So it's definitely a spot where like Fear are not worried about opportunities of kind of getting blown up. They know the damage isn't quite there yet. And I mean, you know, that's damage going on to Trevor, but still, that's a support. He's going to be healing up. Manui's got the heals coming out too, so as long as you aren't losing a member outright, it's going to be very, very difficult for FlyQuest to actually do anything like this. And there are a couple teams that I think I would have looked at this composition and said, yeah, this is the kind of thing where I feel like Immortals, when they were playing it with like Wixie and Balulu, and they had a bunch of artillery mages and took Cloud9 to like a 45-minute game when it should have been over in like 20. You know, that's a team where I would probably give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like, yeah, you know, this composition is a little bit tough to play, but like they're going to be scrappy about it. That's one of the things that I'm a little bit worried about with FlyQuest is they tend not to be scrappy unless their opponents are the ones starting the scraps. And if you're starting the scraps, they're not scraps. They are domination wombo combos.
FlyQuest, they're right next to Shochi, and I don't think Shochi realizes that Spyrax is over that wall. Knockup's going to be found. Spyrax grabs the buster shot, but isolated is going to be Keetong. Fear will take that kill. Perry goes on a rampage, and another one taken away from FlyQuest.
Like watching a Team Liquid LCS, unfortunately, right now. Right, like, love those guys. Absolutely big fans of all of these players, but it doesn't feel like they are coordinated at this point. It feels like Fear have done such a good job at preying on this lack of coordination. Like, look at that. Trevor knows what this guy's about, and Faisal's looking for Spyrax.
Oh, Faisal will get the stun onto Spyrax. Buster shot comes out. Ultimate stolen away. Going to be utilized. FlyQuest just trying to survive right now off of these plays coming out of Cincinnati Fear. As the reset will come through, gives FlyQuest at least a little time to work on the map and try and find something to in response to what Fear are bringing, man.
But look at how they've been playing the side lanes, right? Philip was down in the bottom side, and he wasn't able to get any real pressure going before, whereas Faisal, he's been hanging out down there. He's been looking to push things in, taking away jungle camps, whereas only now are we starting to see FlyQuest trying to create pressure on the top side. Philip is pushing out, but he has no teleport. He has no vision support. He's not going to be safely able to walk up towards this turret because of how early on it is relative to the dragon. People can come up and match him now and then go back to the dragon. You're already seeing that Perry and Shochi are just like, yeah, Philip, you want to hit that? You want to go for that turret?
All the money's on Masu right now as the gold does come up. 1.5k. The only place that FlyQuest really have a lead. They don't have any answer anywhere else on the map currently. Cincinnati Fear have just kind of run away with this mid game so far, and now they're using it to set up control around this Baron, getting a lot of deep vision over there. FlyQuest, they're just being chased on out.
FlyQuest will be looking for an opportunity. This is for, to their credit, Eric. Fear versus FlyQuest was one of the teams where I was expecting this was probably going to be a 1-1, right? I was expecting that Fear would be able to get one of these games at the very least. If they get both of them, and then they'll probably end up doing better than my initial 4-8 that I was talking about. This is going to be one of the spots where Fear, as they continue to close this out, they bounce back really well. Remember, Perry lost his flash at the very beginning of the game. He had to start out on the back foot, especially after seeing that Yuji got the dive off up in the top side of the map. And now they're looking for another opportunity. Spyrax just hops the wall. Eyes the monkey.
But there is Perry as well. Flash over the wall coming out from Keetong. Use the Hex Flash to get there. Top lane turret going to be taken, all right. It's some income coming back, but look at the bottom lane. Faisal is doing some work as well. The Gator will take an inner tower for an outer.
Yeah, that is a 2 kills to 1 kill going over. Now they're trying to find Shochi.
Oh, Shochi, rocket jump right on out. Doesn't get caught by the pick. Says goodbye to the rest of FlyQuest as the bug gets splatted, and so does the Nautilus. 2 back-to-back kills for Fear.
And Spyrax isn't necessarily out, but remember there's a Baron on the table. Fear are turning towards that already. There's another Dragon for them to try and go pick up. And FlyQuest, again, they're just a little bit all over the place, right? They're picking individual skirmishes, but they're only able to get some of the more tanky members. They've been hitting Perry, they've been hitting Faisal, they've been hitting Trevor. It's like, great. That is exactly how Tristana and Seraphine want to be playing the game. And as Fear pick up the Baron for themselves, this is very rapidly becoming a situation where FlyQuest, they don't have any strong members to really fall back upon. It's not as though Masu is going to be able to really exert his will on the game at this point, because this poke Varus relies so much on the rest of your team to set up for you.
I like this so much for Cincinnati Fear. You know, the constant worries of how they are going to perform as we get deeper and deeper into the season. You know, even with the strength of schedule check-in that we have with them, you were talking about TLF is probably going to be their easiest match. That's the top lane skill check with Surdy. A wild card, you got your sanity check. Cloud9, your mental check. 100 Thieves, your hands check. And then you got CLG with the playoffs check. It's going to be a tough round of games for Cincinnati Fear, but starting off like this against FlyQuest, it bodes so well for them and how well they've been able to perform on the season.
Yeah.
But, ooh, look at this. Faisal versus Spyrax over on the top side. Spyrax trying to get the better.
Okay.
Will use the dominant stolen away from Faisal. Lots of chip damage.
Just quick.
You got to work fast, and you got to work faster than this because the teleport's coming in. Trevor has arrived, and here is Shochi with a rocket jump right on in. Headbutt pulverize onto Spyrax. Will use that hourglass, but will get stunned up. No flashes away. Goomba stomp from Shochi to put Spyrax right on down. On the bottom end of the fight, everything is falling to pieces.
They got one.
You're only going to pick up one in Shochi, but your entire team were lambs to the slaughter for Cincinnati Fear.
This was a perfect example of the way that Fear have been playing relative to FlyQuest, right? Fear are not necessarily worried about any of the plays that FlyQuest can go for because they are faster to the rotation, they are faster to look for all these fights, they get another kill, and while, yeah, this bought a lot of time on the Baron kind of being wasted, you're doing it at the cost of about all the gold they would have gotten anyway. So now Fear, they're pushing up, they have Baron in the mid lane, they get the mid lane turret, they're pushing over in the side lane, and FlyQuest are just going to be missing out on so much money. And something we didn't even comment on so far, Eric, is the fact that Fear are now one dragon away from the Infernal Soul. That is like the one thing that FlyQuest needed in order to try and equalize on this game.
Yeah, and it's going to be taken away in 3 minutes and 30 seconds if FlyQuest don't do something fast. I'm not even sure if we get to the Dragon Soul with how Fear have been playing. They've taken out every inner tower right now. They've forced FlyQuest at least into a spot where they got a turtle, because if you don't, Trevor will come out from the jungle and chase ya. Kitong gonna sacrifice his life for Masu, but Perry goes godlike, and it's more for Cincinnati Fear.
The base will open. This is very likely effectively the end of the game, right? As Trevor just goes in.
Oh, Trevor! Brilliant on the headbutt pulverize. Finds Philip, who's crowd control for days, and Perry with the final bonk to put him down. Another headbutt pulverize coming out from Trevor. Gets two. Doesn't look like Fear are going for the end just yet unless they can find the definitive fight. They're going after Yuji.
It still hurts.
Pelling up to the rafters, but will go down. Yuji taken down. Double kill found by Shochi. Triple kill found by Shochi. Cincinnati Fear, they look at the top strength of schedule, and they'll start off game one with a dub against FlyQuest.
Fantastic stuff coming out from Fear, right? They understand the strengths of their composition. They know they just got to go for broke when it comes to all of these wombo combo engages, and they do it. They do it multiple times. They find FlyQuest slipping 1, 2, 3 times in different places on the map. The wombo combo comes through. There's not a whole lot left for FlyQuest to do, and so, I mean, good stuff coming out from Fear. They got the first win here, and now we'll see if FlyQuest can play this one for a draw.
They didn't allow themselves to be picked out by what FlyQuest had. They team fought incredibly well, especially around those neutrals, and they knew how to allocate those resources to get this comp going. Great win out of Cincinnati Fear. We're going to take a moment to take a break, and when we return, we'll have Rafa with our halftime segment.